Howdy, y'all. I'm Ryan.
I'm Robyn.
And we don't agree on much, but one thing we do is we support the Second Amendment.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So, she's waiting on me to say something. So, exit the echo chamber. We are honored and proud to have our first ever guest with us today. Introduce yourself, sir.
James Yaeger
of
Tactical Response.
And what do you do?
I teach good people how to kill bad people.
You teach good people how to kill bad people. Good answer. So Robyn has just completed her first ever firearms training course, a 2-day course here in Raton, New Mexico. We're on the road right now. So Robyn, why don't you tell us what you thought of the training and all your thoughts and what your experiences were and all that?
First of all, it's hard to concentrate when James has this tomahawk over here. It was amazing. I haven't had a chance to process it all, and I'm a little sunburned, a little tired. And
like when they say just finished, like an hour ago.
Yeah,
right? Right.
Yeah. I still have stickers and dust all over me, but it was amazing. And everybody who's been listening to us knows I'm a little bit liberal, but I definitely believe in the Second Amendment, and this just cemented it for so many reasons. It was hella fun, but also I learned a lot. We don't have time for me to say everything.
No, say as much
learned,
as you want.
but,
Go ahead. Go pick something you think was your favorite thing that you learned, I guess.
Mindset. Definitely mindset. I thought that I was going to come in and learn all the details about shooting. I can learn that on my own. I learned a lot about mindset and tactics, what to do in bad situations. There was just so much. I can't even unpack it all. I did love, I think that you said like 3 times that I remember. I wasn't counting really carefully, but you said that we carry a handgun so people cannot impose their will on us. Mm-hmm. And given my history, that was super powerful, and that'll stick with me for a long time. That's what I learned in a nutshell. I could break it down into hour by hour.
A lot of people say I can't narrow it down to one sentence, but I also couldn't put it in a book either. So, I as a teacher, not an instructor, as a teacher, when people react that way, I feel really good because I don't want it to be a novel or a sentence, And when I say I teach good people to kill bad people, that's mostly to shock the senses.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, James, as an instructor, do you feel, in your experience, and you've taught, you said by your own count, 75,000 students total. Mm-hmm. Do you think, in your opinion, do women typically approach this class with a better mindset than most men?
No.
Really?
Because most women don't come to these classes. The classes are dominated by males. So if they had a proper mindset, they'd be here. I get asked very often why I don't teach women's only classes. Well, first off, I don't patronize women. Secondly, there's no such thing as a woman's only gunfight.
True.
And if you can't handle a man telling you how to shoot, you certainly won't handle a gunfight. And as I told you in the class, my record's at 54-0-1. I have 0 losses. So if you can't handle me talking to you in class and telling you how to shoot, you're going to go on my loss board, and I ain't going to have it.
Right. I mean, 54-0-1, if you get that clean of a record in the NFL, you're going to the Hall of Fame. So, that's a good record. So, a little bit about myself, and anybody that knows me is probably tired of me saying this, but just so James knows, and then I'll get to my point in a second. I used to be an instructor for the state of Texas for correctional officers. I worked in the prison system. My last couple years was a firearms instructor. Prior to that, I grew up hunting and all of that. And then Robyn and I get together, and even with that background, as limited as it is, it's more than I would say most people have. I still brought Robyn to a professional teacher, to a professional training class, and I hear this all the time, like my dad was a cop, or my husband is X something, or a fill in the blank, or this, and this, and they took me out to the ranch and we went shooting. You hear that a lot, or is that?
Yeah, all the time. And did you guys happen to see the movie 300?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So when the Spartans met up with the Greeks, he said, "Hey, what do you guys do?" And I'm a carpenter, and I'm this and that. Well, the Spartans were warriors.
Right.
Well, this is what I do for a living.
Sure.
I don't teach on the weekend. I don't.
Right.
this is what I do for a living, and the odds are, the fastest way to not have me look at your job application is to tell me you're retiring as a military guy or a cop. Oh, I was an instructor for 20 years. That's the fastest way for me to not look at your
right,
because I'm as good as my last class. The worst police or military instructor has the seats filled next week, no matter how bad a job he did.
That's true. That's true. You said that your wife, who's your wife's favorite?
So if you would have asked my wife who her favorite firearms instructor was, she would say Clint Smith of Thunder Ranch.
Right, very famous guy. And that's true. And I guess my overall point was, it's kind of like coaching your son's little league or whatever. Sometimes when you have dad or husband as the coach, even if you're 1,000% right and 1,000% qualified in making a point, you could still be the guy that forgot to take out the trash last week, and she's still pissed at you for that thing.
But it's more than that. It's the dynamic of a couple, and it just doesn't work. And anybody that says, "Oh yeah, it works for us," obviously one of them doesn't know what the hell they're talking about,
right?
Because it just doesn't work.
Right.
So when my wife wants to learn something, Tim, the instructor that was working with me this weekend, he'll take her to the range or whatever. I just let somebody else do it. I don't have the same dynamic with my daughters, but people that are intimate, it just doesn't work.
Right, I 100% agree.
I will backtrack a little. I don't think that I would have gotten the same out of a women's only course. I really enjoyed this, and I didn't find anything negative. I would tell every woman to do something like this. I wouldn't have taken a women's only class, but I felt like I got a lot out of this as a woman. And you had 4 of us in there, right? So yeah.
Well, let me ask you real quick. As a female taking a class that was predominantly male and taught by some loud talking guys or whatever, did you? And I've got to use a word that's a running joke between us. Did you ever at any time feel like you were being mansplained? Anything handgun related or shooting or any of that kind of stuff? Not one time ever.
No,
right.
No, not 1 second.
Well, I mean, to that point, there's a lot of jargon in the industry, the firearms stuff. Then you get, like, Tim was a former Army guy, I was a cop. So there's a lot of jargon in the industry. And we really try to steer around all of the jargon and use plain English. And that's not patronizing a woman. That's like, we have people in class that they made their career in the computer industry. They don't know what the military acronyms are and stuff like that. So not only do we not mansplain, we try to also not cop-splain or soldier-splain.
Right, 100%.
I get that.
And I was kind of observing the teaching portion of the class and kind of being a gopher this last couple of days.
Don't.
Well,
no. He was helping on the line, coaching people, and did a great job, and was a real asset to the class. He said, "Hey, can I watch?" And I said, "No, you're gonna get your ass in there and work." Right.
That was exactly how you're gonna earn your keep here. So no, I was also taking notes though. I got a kind of a freebie out of that one. One of the things you said during the class was you can't just give somebody, and I'm putting quotes around a gun in quote, and then protect them the same way you don't give somebody a violin and expect them to be a musician. And I've seen that 100 times too, and it's usually it's a well-intentioned dad or husband, and it's usually a revolver of some sort, and they give it to a female and say, "Here, stick this in your, bedside table or whatever it is." So. Do you agree with that?
That's again what they do for a living. They're obviously not a firearms instructor.
Right.
And handing a woman a revolver, I go, why would you give a woman a revolver? Well, they're simple to operate. I said, oh, so women are stupid. They go, well, I go, you're talking about a woman that can drive a car down the road while she's texting and putting her makeup on, and then operating the car and get somewhere, drinking a coffee, and you're telling me that she can't operate a gun that has 2 buttons on it?
Right.
I said, you're doing yourself a disservice. They go, well, they're not strong enough to rack it. No, you are an incompetent teacher. You can't teach them how to rack it. And I said, let's say they can't rack it. A semi-auto pistol holds more bullets, has a better trigger and better sights. So you want them to have 6 rounds before the guy kills them, or 16 rounds before the guy kills them?
So, Robyn, what gun did you use for the class?
I used a Glock 19, and I know how to rack that.
You know how to what? You know how to do what now?
Rack the fuck out
of it. Rack the fuck out of it. We had a chat about that before we came.
I even learned about that. Like, I learned the motion.
It's not going to break. You do not have the violence in your hands to break that action just use it, run it.
What I find with most people, and I'm not saying women, what most people when they start, they think they got to pull it off the top of the gun. And when you say, no, you just got to do it this much, you go, oh. And it pretty much solves it.
You probably saw the light bulb over my head with that.
But that's what we want, and like I told you guys in class, I wasn't given some stone tablets up on a mountain. I had to work through all this and figure it out and all that stuff. So I get what it's like to be a student of this stuff. I just finished taking a 5-day class where I screwed stuff up and all that. So
wait. Go back to say that again. You've taught 75,000 people. You've been doing this for 20-something plus years. And you just did a what?
I just took a class.
You just took a training class. So I that's more to my point, where I'm saying, like, even, and I've had nowhere near the training you have, but I've had some. I still take training classes, and James Yaeger, who owns a freaking company training people, takes training classes. And I hear this, and I'm sure you hear it a lot too. I don't need that. I'm
a lot of people think becoming an instructor is a destination,
right?
But a reputable martial arts school, when you're given a black belt, they will say, now you know enough to go learn martial arts.
Wow.
And I believe that is true with firearms too. So I just finished a 5-day class at Gunsight, and next week I'm taking a 3-day class at Thunder Ranch, which will be my 5th class in 5 years at Thunder Ranch.
I remember when Thunder Ranch was just in Mountain Home, Texas. Yes, my dad back in the early 90s got followed around because he drove by there. He'd been on the YO Ranch. And he came off of it, and that was next to Thunder Ranch, or close to it. And he walked in the store, and he'd been hog hunting, and he had a gun on him. And FBI guys were observing Thunder Ranch because it was right after the Waco incident. So, yeah, he was like, what in the hell is going on here? So, on a little bit more of a political topic and something that's kind of timely in our world, I would say, given what's going on with the National Rifle Association, and full disclosure, we've been at the NRA Whittington Center the last 2 days. I'm going to be using it 2 more days with James in another class. The lawsuit in New York, what are your thoughts?
That is purely politics. Since when, what company has the government ever tried to tell them what to do with their books?
Right.
Let's say that the accusations are correct, that Wayne LaPierre, the head of the NRA, is spending money he shouldn't spend on suits and cars and whatever they say he's spending money on. That is a shareholder problem. Right. That is a membership problem. That's not a legal problem.
Okay.
Like, I own my company. I don't have any shareholders, but I spend my money how I want to spend my money.
Right.
The government's going to come in and tell me you shouldn't have spent that much money on a car, or you shouldn't have spent that much money on a suit or whatever. It's none of their fucking business.
So at the next NRA convention, and who knows with COVID when they're going to have a real one again or whatever, if a vote came, that's between the members and the national board and all of that. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, the NRA has the president and a board of directors and 5 million members.
I mean,
what New York's trying to do is dissolve the NRA.
Right.
What a lot of people don't understand is the NRA can't leave New York without the permission of the government. So they're trying to keep them there and drain the coffers with legal fees.
I got you. Which is awfully suspicious timing that it happened, 2 or 3 months right before a major national election.
They said they were going to do it. The problem that they have is they haven't figured out that we, NRA members, like a good fight.
Oh, yeah.
And so as soon as New York said that, money started flowing.
Exactly right. I know guys that donate every time something pisses them off. So here comes another $1,000 from a guy I know to the NRA.
If you want to donate to the NRA-ILA, the Institute for Legislative Action, that's where your money should go.
Do you know if their membership increased after the New York?
Oh, yeah. It's every time there's a sale, it's not maybe not New York, but the COVID thing, all these new people buying guns, it translates into memberships.
My biggest issue with the NRA, and it's the sheer volume of mail that you get.
Okay. Listen, I get
other
it.
than that, I'm on board.
If it didn't work, they wouldn't do it.
Well, there's that, because a lot of their donors are older folks.
Here's the thing. I like the NRA better than I like my government.
Yes.
So if I'm going to support my government, I'm going to support my NRA.
Right.
And 5 million members is nothing to sneeze at. And when they start talking crap about guns, they don't name any other organization. They say, if it wasn't for that darn NRA, we'd be rid of these guns. If you need another reason to be a member of that organization, I don't know what it would be. If it's the one organization that makes Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi take pause before they introduce gun legislation,
right.
I want to be a part of that.
That's true. 100% agree. Did you have anything to that in on the NRA? Because she and I had some discussions about the NRA early on, and
even before the New York thing.
Right, even before the New York thing.
No, a little off topic from the NRA, but you mentioned all the new gun buyers, and you had mentioned that in the course too, that every 4 years there's a shortage of ammo. Mm-hmm. It's always tied to politics, right? Mm-hmm. Like Obama was the best gun salesman ever.
Right. Yeah.
Without meaning to be. What would you say to, because there are obviously even a lot of liberals or left-minded people who are buying guns right now.
Actually, I gotta take exception to that.
Okay.
Nope. If you buy a gun, you're not a liberal anymore.
Okay.
Congratulations! You're on the team now.
Well, you might not be a conservative, but you're not a liberal anymore.
Okay. That's a valid point.
You're closer to libertarian than you are anything else.
And you said that earlier today, and there were several things I agreed with on that. That you said you believed in, but what would you say to new gun owners who never thought they would be gun owners?
Learn the 4 safety rules and take safety seriously. Keep your finger off the trigger. Never point that gun at anything you don't want to destroy. Always treat it like it's loaded. Be sure of your target, what's beyond it. And if you know those inside and out, we won't have any tragedies. Keep them out of the hands of children. Right. Buy a gun safe or a gun lock of some sort and use it.
And I can't overemphasize, get some professional training, and your dad and your husband is not a professional trainer.
Yeah.
That's just, and going to the gun range, and this is another thing that trips a lot of guys out. They'll talk about, they went to the range and they shot paper targets, and they call that training. That's not training, that's target practice.
Well, no, it's not. So there's 3 things you can do with a gun. You can train with a gun, and I told you in class, training teaches you what and how to practice. So after you've had training, you go practice. If you've not had training, what you do is called shooting.
Okay. So you're shooting the beer cans and the paper targets.
I learned the difference this week. I thought I was going to learn how to shoot, and I learned very quickly that was not what we were learning.
Gunfighting.
Yeah, I immediately learned the difference.
You mentioned martial arts a second ago. I've heard you say that gunfighting, and I 1,000% agree with this, is its own martial art.
It's the only true American martial art.
Agreed. And that's. Do you take another martial art besides
Kenjutsu?
Okay, I do Muay Thai. So it's pretty serious martial art. And what Kenjutsu? I'm not as familiar with that one.
Swordship.
Okay.
Samurai sword.
So you can cleave a man in half.
Probably close.
Nice. That's from a quote. So how did you come into being an instructor originally back in the day?
I was a cop back in the day. I started shooting when I was a kid. I bought my first centerfire handgun in 1988. Ruger P85, because on the cover of the magazine, that was the best gun ever made.
That's a slab side gun.
I didn't know that next month there'd be another gun on the cover.
Right.
So my gun evolution went from Ruger P85 to Glock 23 because I was a cop to a Glock 19. I made those 2 jumps and been on a Glock 19 ever since.
Okay.
So I got it. And I started reading gun magazines. I was like, I gotta shoot IPSC. And this is typically where somebody will say, what about IDPA? And it wouldn't be invented for several more years till 1996. And so I started shooting IPSC, and then I became a cop in 1992, 92 to 96. I worked undercover. But when I was a cop, I couldn't afford to go to training like Gunsight or Thunder Ranch. But there was all these free classes for cops, SWAT schools and shooting schools, officer survival schools. So I was doing all that stuff. So I was the guy that would show up at these police schools, not in uniform, with a mullet and all that shit.
Right.
In the early 90s.
Right.
I had a fucking badass
You had a mullet. Do pictures exist
I
of
was
this mullet?
about to ask.
I gotta see.
Continue.
Okay.
But so in 1996, I stopped doing undercover work, and all cops have part-time jobs.
Sure.
All of them. And I started doing carry permit classes. And people would say, do you do like another class? So, yeah, I could do one. In 1998, I got on this thing invented by a Tennessean called the Internet. Al Gore invented it.
Al Gore, thank you.
Yeah, a Democrat. I want to give him his due. But I got on the Internet, and the rest was history. I was like one of the first guys on the Internet doing gun stuff. I put my first video on YouTube in 2005. That was the year YouTube started.
That was brand new YouTube.
Yeah.
That was back when all YouTube was rock videos from the 80s, pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much. So they became an instructor that way. Okay, so with the onset of everybody, I say everybody, a lot of new gun buyers and all that, a lot of folks I have discovered are now buying body armor. Mm-hmm. And one of the issues that we have in our household is I own body armor, but Robyn does not. And I think you have a video out there somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, it's called Armor Up Your Old Lady.
Yeah, armoring up your old lady.
So Robyn just loves it when I call her the old lady. So, I'm seeing this. Hang on one second for those waiting listening. I am seeing that is a power mullet,
that's my
brother.
wife.
I figured.
That is a power mullet right there. Now.
And she had the big hair, too.
Yeah.
I had the same hair.
This was 93.
You should be fronting the band right there, brother.
I had the same hair, but it is not on my
So
phone.
I want you to look. What I'm showing them is a picture, and I'm carrying appendix in the front.
Okay.
Because when I worked undercover, this is during my time undercover. That's the place I was least likely to get patted down. Because guys go, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" You know,
Right.
and kind of give you a pat down like that.
Right.
That was, and it's funny because I carried appendix. I didn't know it had a name.
Okay.
I just carried it in the front. I just called it front.
I learned about carrying in the front from a book and realized that most guys when they pat you down don't go around. At least in America, won't go around your junk.
Yeah.
So
Nowhere will they do that.
They just, you put something, you got to make some adjustments as a man, obviously. But going back to armoring up your old lady, body armor for women, what do you recommend? What would you say?
Something little and light. She's got the AR 500 armor micro carrier, and guys don't buy it because you can't put 5,000 mags on it. But for a woman, a spare rifle mag and a medical kit's all she needs for home defense. It's not for repelling all borders. It's just for in case something goes, bump in the night.
I got, I don't know. There used to be a stigma attached to owning body armor. I don't think there is as much anymore.
I never heard that.
I have. Well, I used to live in Maryland, so I lived in a slave state for
never mind.
7 years.
Who knows?
And it was illegal for a civilian to own body armor at the time. Like people that were reading
Seriously?
meter readers and people like that who really needed it because they were going in some unsavory areas had to petition the government to let them have.
Here's what's funny: a civilian pizza delivery guy is the one that invented body armor.
Wow.
He said, "There's got to be something better to stop bullets than my fat ass."
Are you serious?
Yeah, the guy's name was Richard Davis. He started Second Chance Body Armor. So a civilian invented it as a pizza guy, and then
and then they took it away from civilians.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I heard, and this is just a pet peeve of mine when somebody's talking, when you don't want to carry a gun or you don't whatever, I see this all the time. Just carry pepper spray, you'll be fine. Or just a widget or a device and you'll be fine. And again, I got to go back to, there is no magic wand anywhere in the world that you can carry and be 100% safe without training. Do you have?
My favorite is the telling women to put their keys between their fingers.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, and I saw a product on TV. It was a tiger claw thing where
that's better than the keys.
The claws would come out, and in the commercial it says no training required, and I'm like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that one also says it collects DNA. Well, yeah, that'll help them solve your murder.
Right, exactly right.
No, while pepper spray and other items have their use, I'm not saying they don't. There's an old saying in the hot rod world about engine displacement. There's no replacement for displacement, and it's the same thing. There's no replacement for a firearm. When you need a firearm, it really is the only tool that'll work.
Right.
I mean, like if you have a kitchen fire, you don't go, "Oh my gosh, where's the cereal?"
Right.
You say,
That is a great analogy.
Where's a fire extinguisher?
I have a fire extinguisher in my home now because of one of your videos.
You should have more
A buddy
than
of
one.
mine was in the business, and I got him to hook me up, and I have a decent sized steel, a pretty good sized fire extinguisher in the house. Because when you're talking about home defense, most guys' brains go to the dog and the gun, or not necessarily in that order, but they don't think about everyday stuff that could happen, like kitchen fire.
You should have a big fire extinguisher beside your bed.
It's probably true.
Not probably. Where's the fire going to be?
Right.
You're going to have to go past.
You're going to have to go past the fire to get the stuff. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Putting it on the to-do list.
I mean, listen, I'd rather have 3 or 4 little fire extinguishers than one big one. Listen, I have several big ones, but I'm saying if you're on a budget, I'd rather there be several little ones around than just one big one somewhere.
Agreed.
You talked about preparation a lot in the class, and I did not expect that, but I was actually really grateful for that, because you talked about preparation as far as just life, like being prepared. And you even said something that kind of blew me away. I said it in class at the end.
While you're looking through your notes, it all connects. Every bit of this connects. Like there were guys in our class that were not in great physical condition. I didn't say anything to them in front of everybody, but we had a little conversation off the side, like, "Hey, you got to do something."
Right.
Yeah.
You're here to protect yourself, but you're killing yourself.
Right.
And so it's holistic. All this matters. Wear your seatbelt. If you don't wear your seatbelt, wear your seatbelt. Like I tell people all the time, hey, raise your hand. If you don't wear a seatbelt, every once in a while I get a guy that raises his hand. I tell him, I said, I'll give you your money back right now, and you can leave if you will just wear your seatbelt, because you're more likely to die in a car wreck than you are need your gun.
Right.
Then we'll do it.
The quote you said was, "The more ready you are to die, the harder you are to kill."
Yeah.
And that goes for everything. Seatbelts, being prepared for death, being prepared with insurance, wills, everything.
Yeah.
Fire extinguisher.
Thank you. I was like, what's that word?
It's all right.
Fire extinguishers in every place.
When a guy walks a tightrope, he shouldn't be thinking about his electric bill or
Right.
what if he falls and who take care of his kids.
Yeah, take care of all the big stuff. Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask is, you probably get a million questions because we have a million questions for you, but what do you wish people would ask? Like, what's the one thing that you wish you could tell people?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. It's such a broad thing. I mean, tell people about what? About
safety, guns.
I would tell them this about their marriage. Treat your wife like you want her, not like you have her. I would tell them about their kids. I said there's two paths: preparation or protection. And a well-balanced kid has both. Typically, mom protects the child and dad prepares the child. That Mr. Miyagi friction is what raises a well-balanced child. Without both of those, you veer off somewhere. So, about what?
Wow, that one was good. Right there, that was enough.
That was. So there's a movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, called Shutter Island. I forgot the actor's name that's in it, but
another movie.
DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Is it the one where he's crazy?
Yes,
okay.
But you don't know it till the end.
Yeah.
There's a quote from that movie where they think he's a cop or whatever, and there's a psychologist in there that calls him a man of violence. Mm-hmm. And he said, "I'm not violent." And he goes, "No, I didn't say that. You're not a violent man. You're a man of violence. A fireman is a man of violence. A very well-intentioned medic is a man of violence." Do you have any thoughts on that? And I've tried to tell people that I'm not a violent person.
I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
People use that word, I can be violent if I need to be. No, not if you're a good person. Violence is a tool of evil. Force is a tool of good. Evil people are violent. Good people are forceful. When you were a cop, you had a use of force continuum, not a use of violence continuum.
Right.
And so it's a different thing. It's the dark and the light. It's the yin and the yang. It is the opposite of the other. Force is justified and moral and ethical and righteous. And violence is none of those things.
Right.
That's what I think.
So next question. This one's a little bit lighter. Favorite ever John Wayne movie?
Rooster Cogburn.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, no hesitation there.
Yeah. Fill your hands, you son of a bitch.
All right. I'm a shootist and the man who shot Liberty Valance guy.
The shootist. When Opie Cunningham asked him, like, how do you do it? He said, I find that most men just aren't willing.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that quote from that movie, as far as the mindset and all that, you have to be willing to protect yourself and others. And one of the things you said in class this week was this weekend was one of the decisions you have to make when using a firearm is whose life am I going to save? And you have to be willing to do that. It's not a good luck. Just a gun is not a good luck charm. You have to be willing to use it, or the fire extinguisher, or the seatbelt, or the whatever the thing is.
And if we connect all those things, the gun, the fire extinguisher, the seatbelt, any day that you use them fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have them,
right,
it would be worse.
Right. The day your airbag deploys, your day is pretty much shot, but you're damn glad it's there.
Yeah.
Your life is better.
Right. So what's your deal with 1911s, man?
I don't have a deal. Generally speaking, most of them don't work. And so when they were built by craftsmen who hand fitted the parts. We skip ahead literally 100 years, and we have people that try to mass produce them using CNC and EDM and MIM manufacturing, and they try to just put them together with unskilled labor. It doesn't work that way. That gun does not function that way. And so what I tell people is, like, you can't buy a $500 1911 and think it's going to work. If we look at, they used to cost $15 in the 20s. Well, $15 is about fucking $5,000 now.
Right.
So when you look at Wilson and all those guys, that's what you're getting. You're getting a craftsman that hand fits that gun together.
Right.
And if they do a really good job, it will be almost as reliable as a Glock.
Almost.
I'm being
That's an
facetious.
indictment.
I know.
Not even close.
I know, and I noticed the amount of you had a couple Glock converts in class this weekend. I heard a couple of them talking. I'm if this thing, I'm getting a Glock. I'm getting a Glock. You've probably heard that before. So
Oh, yeah. I don't tell them either. I go, yeah, that's not the right gun for you.
right,
They go, I'm getting a Glock.
Right.
They do to get a Glock to begin with. Like I said in class, there's a reason they didn't come with a Glock. They were steering around the obvious answer.
right, and that's and I hear a lot of it too. It's a Tupperware gun,
Yeah,
or
whatever,
some
whatever.
BS like
But
that.
yeah, but not anymore. That was back in the day. Now they buy other plastic guns. They buy XDs, which are junk, and FNs, which are junk, and they buy all these other junk guns.
Right. There's that. I've heard you mention the book, and I have read this book, and I read it back in the 90s, Unintended Consequences. Do you think that book's as relevant now as it was when it
It's
came out?
more relevant now than when it came out.
For those that don't know, there's a book, and the John Ross.
Yep.
The author's name is John Ross, and it's based on. It goes back into some actual history, and there's some events that happened. You have to be able to separate fact from fiction.
Historical fiction.
There is some historical fiction, but there's the Miami shootouts in there, I want to say, and there's some World War II stuff.
The bonus marchers, Waco, Ruby Ridge,
Right.
FBI shootout.
All of that is in there, and then it comes up into it. Flash forwards into modern day, and you think that is even more relevant now than it was. And that book, what, 95?
96.
Yeah, I read it in about 98 or 9. So it's been.
Listen, they won't let that book be imported into Canada.
Wow.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's illegal to import that book
It's
into
also
Canada.
it's not a quick read either. It's a lengthy book.
It's besides the Odyssey or the Iliad, it's the longest book I've ever read.
Okay.
And when I turned the last page, I thought, I wish it was twice as long.
Right. Agreed. And there's
I tell you, it's the only book I've ever had in my life. Some of you guys listening have had this kind of book that if I had 6 minutes before I had to leave for work, I'd read it for 6 minutes.
wow.
Why?
It was enthralling. I mean, it is my favorite fictional piece ever, and I've read a lot of fiction.
And like you said, it's not entirely fiction. There's a lot of historical stuff
it's
in there.
basically the whole book up until modern day is history with real people and real things, and he wove fictional characters into those stories.
Just to flesh it out.
Right. I actually, back before social media, found an email address for him some kind of way, and emailed him, said, man, I really enjoyed your book. He actually replied back, said, thanks for being a reader and all that. Hadn't bothered him since, but don't know anything about him or where he lives or any of that business.
Oh, I met him at a SWAT magazine party 15 years ago or something.
Okay.
And I was walking, and he's by himself, just kind of hanging out. I walked by him. John Ross? He went, how the fuck did you recognize me? I'm like, book or something, jacket. And I talked to him for about an hour. And I like writing too. And he gave me about a volume of information about how to write, like how to develop characters and all that stuff. And I'm at a SWAT magazine party, so there's all these gun guys here, and as they walk by, I go, hey, did you read Unintended Consequences? And about 90% of them said no, but the ones that did, oh, it's nice to meet you.
Right.
And all that stuff. And I said, man, I'm sorry, these people are just retarded. He says, no, it means I haven't saturated the market yet. There's still plenty of books to sell.
So if
That's a good attitude.
if you're a gunslinger, if you're a gun person out there in the world, that is a book I definitely recommend that you read.
You should buy that book for your liberal friends.
Agreed, 1,000%. Robyn is a voracious reader, which benefits me, and something I'll tell you about after we're done here.
The biggest complaint that women have, and I'm serious, is there's not enough sex in it.
Are you serious? Yeah, I think there's only one or two
Anyway,
major engagements.
That's the biggest.
Only one or two.
That's the biggest.
Dalliances into that. Forays off into that. So we normally try to keep these around that 30-minute mark, but we made an exception today, having our first guest, and we didn't want to berate you with too many.
Let me
questions.
explain why they should be longer. People that listen to podcasts are trying to fill up volumes of their day.
That's true.
At work, or truck drivers are voracious. So
we had a truck driver in class.
And an hour should be the minimum for a podcast.
Okay.
And I mean, listen, if it gets like you're at 38 minutes, like we're done talking, then turn it off. But
right.
Most people are looking to fill time.
For anybody that's listening for the first time ever, because James is on or whatever, a little bit of background. Robyn comes from a more left-leaning ideology, most stuff, and I come from a fairly hard right-wing. So we had a discussion. Where do you get your information, and where do you get your information? We were both asking each other this. And we both realize, as anybody should know, that if you're getting all of your news off of Fox News, yes, them included, and MSNBC, those people too, you're in your own echo chamber. So you have to exit your echo chamber. That's how we came up with the name, to have a discussion with people that you may not agree with. And sometimes, Robyn and I are, boyfriend and girlfriend, we get a little contentious on some of this stuff.
No.
And Trump will have said or done something that she doesn't cotton to or whatever, and I'm like, I have to stop myself. Like, okay, you're not arguing a point here. This is what really happened, or this is what I think really happened. My perception from my echo chamber. So that's where we came up with the name, and that's what Exit the Echo Chamber is. We don't fight about politics, and sometimes we have to okay, this conversation is done. We're not talking about this anymore. We're going to come back to that. We're going to put a pin in this. We're going to put a pin in this and come back to it later.
I'm just waiting for the comments to say, what does cotton to mean?
Cotton to? I also use the phrase chopping too close to the cotton. So if you ask me a personal question, that's chopping too close to the cotton. I'm from Texas, So, the first time I was ever in a cotton patch was on a prison farm, actually. I was on a horse watching convicts work, so that was...
That's a very Texas thing to do.
Very Texas thing
Good dog,
to
you're Texan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you have a shotgun?
No. Real quick. I was, one of the few agencies left in the world that still issues revolvers, Smith & Wesson 65 stainless. And when I became an instructor, I had to go to an armorer's course for that weapon, the Remington 870 and the AR-15. And we had some, brother, let me tell you, we had some Johnson administration specials in our, we had some, the triangle 4-end, old school looking, we had some older ones. I think when Homeland Security started pumping a little bit more money out, we got some newer, nicer stuff. We started seeing some more modernized ARs and all that. But brother, let me tell you, I saw some ancient equipment. I saw in the armory, it's not there anymore. These weapons have been moved to the museum, but I saw real Thompson, Tommy guns, and Ivor Johnsons, and then the 30-round stick mags. And
I've been all over. I can tell you what's in every prison armory in this country.
Right, yeah. So that's one of the few agencies that still, and I believe, except for some departments, still issue revolvers. If they're still doing that. But I had to do the training where you hold it, and for those listening, I'm kind of doing a hook 'em horns, which I would never do in real life. But my fingers, my
oh, you were so doing a hook 'em
my
horns.
right finger, with my right hand, I'm kind of doing a thing where you would stick your middle two fingers through where the cylinder would go when you're loading this way, one at a time, because they didn't give us speed loaders.
Right.
While you're in a gunfight, this is how you're supposed to load a revolver. That's what they tell us. Yeah, God, bullshit. I'm hiding behind something. Fuck y'all. So, anyway, first, I want to say thank you for doing this. It really means a lot to us. Tell people who have never heard of you before, whatever. How do they find you? How do they find Tactical Response?
Well, this is my favorite part of a podcast.
Okay.
This is where I go, no. If they are too stupid to find me, I don't want their money. It's like an IQ test.
Okay.
If they can't find me off what I've said, then I don't ever want to meet them. I don't want their money. I don't want them as a customer. I don't want them as a student.
Okay. So
I'm going to tell them to look for you because there's a lot of really good videos out there.
No. They got my name. They heard the company.
It's James Yaeger, Tactical Response. You have the Google.
He's telling you to stop.
I'm serious. They need to be motivated. And
right.
if they had to, they could have went back and listened to the beginning.
There's that too. There is that too. So you have a great saying, and I would never jack it from you, that you say at the end of all of whenever you sign off, and I don't know if Robyn has caught it enough times to hear it, but something you say at the end of all yours, your responsibility for the fight.
Your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.
I'm Ryan. Oh, no. This is how we do this. And as usual, Robyn is correct.
And Ryan is right.
Thank y'all for listening. We do appreciate it. Adios.